Hello, designers. My intent here to get through Illustrator Glyphs and export font is to record two short videos. I am going to do those pretty much straight through, not go back and edit. I've been fighting with my copy of Glyphs all day trying to get the export right. A lot of Mac operating system updates have happened since I purchased my version. That's a story for another day. You all will not have those issues because you'll be downloading a free trial and starting from fresh. So, to that end, what you are going to do is Google Glyphs app, and right here, glyphsapp.com is where you want to go, and click on this try download link right here. That will be a direct download onto your computer. It'll be a zip file. Locate that in your Finder window, double click to install, and then go ahead and open up the app. Now, while we are here, I will be turning on a couple resource PDFs in the modules, and I will also build out another PDF of links to resources. The gentleman that built this app has done an amazing job with the documentation. There's a full handbook out here. I think it's way down at the bottom of this get started screen, but also there are some short training videos right here. And notice these two, spacing and kerning. These are going to be much shorter than mine, just because I know where we came from in the process. Those would be the down and dirty how to use the tools in the software kinds of videos. Also, when it comes to spacing in particular, there's an entire page devoted to that. This is a really good read if you want to bone up on a little bit of technical knowledge. I have already taken this down to the Cliffs Notes version, and one of the most important things where to go on this page is the spacing letters that have the same number values, and I already have those built out for you. We will look at those when we get there. So let's get going. You will find in the modules there is this list of instructions. This is almost exactly what I am going to do here in this video very quickly. It's called From AI to Glyphs. Again, all this stuff will be populated in the modules. So first off, I'm going to assume that you have Glyphs open and you have your letter build file open in Illustrator. In Glyphs, what you want to do is go to File, New, and then immediately when this opens, go ahead and click on the Info button up here in the upper right hand corner. Here is what you want to populate in here. Under new font, you're going to go ahead and name that. I'm going to do Veronica for demo purposes. If you want to put your name in here and your website and the copyright year and all that stuff, completely fine, up to you, totally unnecessary. Do populate the family name, and then under masters, you're going to go ahead and put that name again. And what you will see when you do that, it will populate over here on the side with your font name. Do not go any deeper into these features in here. The instances will auto-populate once you start putting letters in here, and the rest of this stuff is for fully fleshing out an entire typeface with additional weights, italics, and then working into special characters also. So please do not mess around with that stuff. Under masters, fill in the name And under font, fill in your family name. All right, you can close red light that when you are finished. You can see up here on the top of the window, Glyphs is telling me Veronica, Veronica. I am going to go ahead and work in here, even though it'll be pretty much a blank, which is going to be slightly odd. Later on, I'll probably use a different file for the spacing portion. Okay, moving. So before I get started, I'm going to go ahead and save once. That's just a Command S. Again, as I said during demo last Thursday, majority of the keyboard shortcuts are exactly what you would expect inside of here. I'm going to toss this on my desktop. You can see the name populated for me automatically because I set my info, so I'm going to go with that. I'm going to hit save. I've been practicing, of course, so not a problem for me to save over. You'll have a new file. Into Illustrator. Okay, whether you are in this file that is horizontally laid out, or if you are in the other version that is the one-page ganged up file, Salvador, I believe you're in that version. The process here is the same. It really doesn't matter as long as you remember to zero out your coordinates. It really doesn't matter. So what I have here is our magic correct proportion boxes behind one box behind each letter. It's our magic proportion, but not the right size at the moment. You will notice my boxes are filled magenta. That does not matter. That is just so that you all can see what's happening as I'm demoing. It would be completely acceptable for you to have a box with just a stroke, or even to have a box with no attributes whatsoever, as long as the box is there. Because that is the boundaries that Glyphs will read when you paste. So I'm going to step back to where I was there, make sure this is still grouped. All right, out to all pages. I'm going to go ahead and select all of my letters. I want to make sure I'm on align to artboard, and I'm going to go left top. Again, doesn't matter which artboard, as long as I do this next move here to the artboard that I'm aligned to. In the rulers in the top left corner, in the space where they overlap, you'll see a little crosshair. Drag that to the upper left corner of the artboard that you are on. Then, while you're selected, make sure your reference point is set to top left. And oh, we're still in inches. You would think I did that on purpose, right? Okay, so if I click off so nothing is selected in the properties panel here, I need to change my units to points, because that is the same units, typographers, picas, and points that Glyphs reads. Now I can reselect all my letters. I want, again, reference point in the upper left-hand corner. My X and Y coordinates should be reading 0, 0, and I'm going to take a look at my size. Now, we are not at our magic 600 by 1000 point size. Number one, I'm going to link my chain, so this happens proportionally for width and height. I'm going to go ahead and put in 600 for my width. Actually, I'm going to put in, knowing that this one's going to come off slightly incorrect size, because I have not had time to go back and adjust these quite yet. All the changeover to online was a lot of extra work over the weekend, but happy to do it so that we can all stay safe and healthy. Okay, so I've made my height 1000. For all of you, you were building to the correct size in the first place, so yours should come out width 600, and height 100. We have one more move here. We need to take the entire shooting match and change the Y coordinate to -800. And that's what that looks like here on the artboard. And we are good. So I'm going to go ahead and click off. Really doesn't matter which letter is on top. And also, you're all probably looking at right now. Let me go ahead and turn off this fill for a minute. This gobbly mess, right? And it really doesn't matter if that's the case, because you can just click into this gobbly mess and then you can see, oh, that's a letter I. So you know where to put it when you get over to Glyphs. For me specifically, let me go back here. The files I was practicing in here, I wanted the P first for some ungodly reason. Select the one that's on top. Notice which letter it is. Go ahead and cut that Command X off the keyboard, and then hop over to your clean Glyphs file. I'm going to go ahead and hit the letter tab, and since I'm in lowercase, I'm just going to be looking at the lowercase alphabet for now. Most of you instead are going to want to click on this little uppercase tab. You can work with everything visible here. I'm a cleaner, a little less clutter kind of person. All right, here's the way it goes. I know I have a letter P on the clipboard. I'm going to double click on that letter P. Your Command 0 - works in here. Once I'm looking at the same proportional rectangle, that should look really familiar, with the grayed out letter P behind it. I'm going to go ahead and paste. So when I did this during class with the clean letter form that the box was the exact correct size, I did not get this dialog box. If you see this unusual bounds dialog box, go ahead and hit the correct button. Glyphs is just trying to figure out why what you're pasting doesn't exactly fit the dimensions that it is looking for. So when I hit correct bounds, what you can see is this comes in pretty close to where I want it. Now, up here across the top, you have a small toolbar that, trust me, has everything you absolutely need on here. And what I am looking for, I can see the pink box behind my P. I'm looking for a numeral to the outside of my live area here. I just lightly double clicked on it to select it, and now I'm going to delete. Okay, you can drag a selection area just like Illustrator, or Command A also works. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in. I know from how I built my letters that this is supposed to be directly on the baseline, and actually this would indicate a problem with how my original font was built, because at that time I really didn't know what I was doing. As you all know, letters that curve to the baseline, that curve in whatever bowl that you are looking at, generally dips slightly below your baseline. So I'm going to go ahead and move that there. And then as far as adjustment goes, I need the bottom of my descender to be at the bottom of the bounding box here, or this letter indication for live area. So what I did, and as you go through and fix and clean up a little bit while you're pasting your letters in here, right now I just have these bottom two anchors selected. And if I look down here in my info box indicator, which is showing me which letter, I've got a lowercase p right here. The Unicode is 0070. Thanks for telling me that, Glyphs. Number to the left, that is my spacing to the left, or technically referred to as the left side bearing. And then to the right, I have 149. These should actually be equal to start with. Makes life a lot easier. So if I make that 147 each, that gives me my right 600 total width that it's showing here at the bottom. Now, what I was actually getting after before I started introducing you to this info panel was I need the coordinate for these, the y coordinate for these bottom 2 points. To get them at the very bottom of our live area, I should be at minus 200. Remember that original box I introduced you to, the descender was at minus 200. So for this to be flat to this box, what I need is those 2 coordinates to be at that position. So what that did was size my letter correctly. As I've mentioned, this is still a work in progress. This is a little high compared to my X height. They shouldn't actually be up there. This whole top should be, you go back to my selection tool, that's V on the keyboard, just like Illustrator. Let me zoom in. It will not zoom to a selection like Illustrator does. That is one not so great thing. You can hold shift when you're dragging to constrain things up and down. What you can see now is just like below at the baseline, I'm now slightly above my X height. This actually is much closer to how I intended this letter P to look. Okay, you can close these as you go, doesn't matter. When I come back out here to my letters, what you can see is my P is highlighted now. Just trying to get the rest of those indicators turned off, so I know where I'm at as I am going through and building. Okay, repeat 25 times, right? Back to Illustrator, click on anywhere here in your little jumble of alphabet soup. Notice what letter you have selected. I have a letter Z now. Go ahead and cut that off the artboard. Why would I have another P in here? All right, that was a keyboard command error. I hit Command Z instead of Command X, which is cut. I can see I have a nice pretty Y up next. Back to Glyphs, double click on Z, which is what I had. I'm going to paste. If you see this dialog once, you're going to see it every time. Again, don't worry about that. Just make sure you do cleaning and adjustment on your letter forms as you go. Go ahead and use the correct bounds. It'll paste in. I'm going to zoom out one click. I'm looking for the numeral attached to the box on the outside. That is gone. If your boxes only had, well, if they only had a stroke, or if they have a stroke and a fill, you're going to have 2 of those boxes there to delete. So you'll be looking for 2 numerals there to the outside. When it comes to glyphs, I will advise you click gently only once. If that isn't working, then double click on things. Now what I am seeing, and I'm going to hit Z to go to my zoom tool, you can see that activated the magnifying glass up here in my small toolbar. I'm going to drag down into here because I would like you all to be aware of this situation. We talked about this during demo in class on Thursday. And here's the deal. These red points generally should be points that are duplicates that actually don't need to be there. So go ahead and delete those. I had to delete that twice. And then what I'm looking for is to snap these points. You can see the green line is actually where the letter form is. And let's see, I have an extra point here also. And the green area is where Glyphs thinks it actually should be. All right, now I just got myself into a slightly wonky situation here. I didn't actually want to delete that one extra point. Remember, you want to go through here and snap these guys onto the grid directly. This extra anchor point in between, I actually don't need. There's going to be another one right here, and what I would do is just go ahead and go through here and clean up all your points and go by that closest outline, well, the closest fill area as you're snapping to this grid that Glyphs is showing you, unless you can tell for sure that there's some kind of translation between how you built where you need to be an extra block over and extra block up. But generally, and I'm just scrolling up to the top here, the indications that Glyphs is going to give you for where it thinks it should be generally are correct. Now, what I definitely like to do, as I mentioned during class, is double check my arcs where you have joins. This looks a little wonky in here. I don't want to spend a lot of time with all of you right now playing around with something that I know isn't going to work. However, here, let me fix these and then come back in where I'm supposed to be. You can, if you're having trouble getting things selected and moved into the right spot, as I just was, you can use the arrow keys. You kind of have to go past and then back to where you want to be to get everything in the right spot. So that looks good. Let me see if I can figure out what's going on in this corner here. So I certainly don't like that wonky little bit there. And the issue is I don't have a good point for my corner to snap to. So what I'm going to do is split the difference and go a little, no, I'm going to go here. I think the issue is this handle is actually broken and it shouldn't be. But if I take this one down and then this one up, it's a little more of a wrestle than it is in Illustrator because everything is snapping. And that might not be the optimal situation for you. I actually want this handlebar flat. And now what I can see is if my backbone's the right width, this just actually needs to be here. All right, I'm going to call that good enough for demo purposes. I definitely would spend a lot more time on that if we weren't recording right now. Okay, back to Illustrator and repeat until you're done. That was the first two, so 24 more. When you finish, you should have all 26 letters with a highlighted background and filled in, not gray, and showing a preview of your letters. When you finish, go ahead and hit save. And then after you take a little break and you're ready for spacing, watch the second video that I'm going to record right now on spacing. All right, enjoy.